The following is brought to you by Vertical Vet. Rethink your GPO.
Hello, Vertical Vet family. I am Chief Veterinary Officer Dr. Ernie Ward, and it is my highest honor and privilege and joy to bring you another edition of Vet Med School. And this is sort of the content where we bring you up to date on medicine and things that impact pet care. And this week, we've got really the foundation of pet care, in my opinion, and that is nutrition. And we're going to be talking all about one of our special partners, Purina. And today, we have a special guest who's going to talk to us a little bit about who they are as a company, but also importantly as a culture. And our guest is Dr. Callie Harris. She is their Senior Veterinary Communications Manager. She is a 2008 graduate of Tuskegee University School of Veterinary Medicine, and she has worked in emergency veterinary medicine since 2009. She also joined Nestle Purina Pet Care in 2016 and became their Senior Veterinary Communications Manager. In this role, she supports veterinary teaching hospitals and Purina's sales division while connecting with the veterinary community through media like this. She lives in Atlanta with her family and 3 dogs, and a fun fact, she has appeared on several television shows. Callie, you and I have worked together. It is a joy to be with you again.
So awesome to see you again, Dr. Ernie, and just always a pleasure, right, to have this time to connect with you and connect with my colleagues in this manner. So thank you.
Yeah, and one of the things that I think since we founded Vertical Vet back in 2018, our goal there was to support independent clinics, and we wanted to make sure that we gave them, the best deals and rebates and so forth. But my part of the company when we first started was education, and that's why I love talking to folks like you, because sometimes, people in clinics, we're familiar with Purina. I mean, we know they have great products and support, but we really don't know enough about the history of the company and the culture. And so today, I'm so happy that you're going to be able to talk to us about some of those things.
Yes, for sure. And I love that you mentioned that most folks should be aware of Purina, right? Like everyone recognizes the checkerboard. Maybe we're already feeding Purina to our pets, at home. But I think that there's so much more to this company that I am so proud to work with beyond even just the bowl. So I am very excited to be able to share some of that insights with you guys today.
And one of the things too, Vertical Vet family, definitely check out her social media. I love it. It's very entertaining. She does a lot of really good work within our community. And so she's out there supporting vets and vet schools. And so again, just a little plug, Callie, I love what you're doing out there. But today I do want to start off with a little bit of a history lesson because, Purina has been around a long time. And there's been a lot of innovations that have quite frankly transformed veterinary care. The therapeutic diets, let's face it, you guys have led in many of these areas. And so maybe if you could just give us a little bit of background on the history, the innovations, and, sort of what that means to us as veterinary practitioners.
Absolutely. So we've been in this experience in this pet food space for over 100 years. And when we go way back, like I'll take you guys back in time, right? We were the first center that was dedicated to dog nutrition. And this was back in 1926 under the leadership of our creator, William Danforth. And in 1957, this is where the general population had to experience that first opportunity with extruded dry dog food. And this is really what set the standard for pet food companies to come after. To keep going down that timeline, in the 90s, this was a huge decade for us at Purina. We put out the first diet that would utilize high protein levels for weight loss. So really honing in on that nutrient composition to really help get our patients and our pets back to their lean, healthy body weight. We also came up with the first therapeutic GI diet with MCTs, also known as medium chain triglycerides, and really understanding how having this alternate source of fat could be beneficial when it comes to metabolism for those pets that are already so compromised in their GI. Going into the 2000s, we were the first to come up with that whole dynamic of high protein to low carb diets to help nutritionally manage those cats with diabetes. And the list goes on. And even when I get into really this more recent decade or years, I think about some of the innovations that I've had opportunities to utilize as an emergency veterinarian, as a relief general practitioner. One of my favorite diets is one that is helped to nutritionally manage canine idiopathic epilepsy, and that's NeuroCare. There's no other diet innovation out there like that. And then we continue to go, even on the well pet side, we actually developed a dietary approach to help neutralize the major cat allergen FeLD1. And this is a diet that our pet parents have access to, even without having to come see us in the vet clinic, to really help solidify that cat-human bond and make sure that cats stay in the homes with their pet parents.
I mean, it's astounding, right? I mean, it's staggering. The list you just gave, these are major innovations in therapeutic diets. I mean, and you haven't even touched on the maintenance diets, right? I mean, so that's one of the things why when we are selecting partners at Vertical Vet, Callie, we have to be, we're thorough and detailed in how we're making these decisions. And again, we're so happy to partner with Purina because, I mean, if you just go and look at their therapeutic and maintenance diets, again, if you can offer these through your online sales channels, your online stores, and again, we can help you if you don't have that already set up. I mean, Callie, this can change not only your practice therapies, but also your revenue.
Yeah, it's something that I always say, many of us get into veterinary medicine and go specifically into clinical practice, right? To save lives, right? We want to be that partner for the entire family. And that's something that we do and show up as veterinarians. And nutrition is at the center of everything that we do. Every pet deserves to eat well, no matter their socioeconomic status, no matter where our pet parents like to shop, no matter even the recommendations that we might make, and it might vary within colleague to colleague, within even just one singular practice. And so I think that Purina does it well because at every price point, at every life stage, at every condition or need or challenge, there is going to be an opportunity for all of us as vets to show up as the heroes by just making a nutritional recommendation.
Boy, and I love that. You're right. We can be the hero when it comes to nutritional recommendations. And, one of the things too, Callie, that, my work in obesity over the last 20 plus years is really giving those options. And again, you can find something that will fit probably within the Purina line. So we're super happy. Well, speaking of innovations, I mean, obviously there's a lot more to making a diet than just coming up with a unique formulation. I mean, you've got to do a lot of quality assurance testing. So maybe talk to us about how that whole process works. I mean, QA or quality assurance, research, how do you guys even know what diets to develop? Because let's face it, back when NeuroCare came out, people were like, wait, what? And of course, the evidence continues to pile up in favor of using MCTs for a lot of, cognitive, and as you mentioned, for epilepsy. I mean, Gary Landsberg, Dr. Landsberg, over the years at Canine Cog in Canada, a lot of really exciting research. But maybe walk us through why we should, as practitioners, trust Purina brand. What's behind the bag, so to speak?
Yeah. This is such an incredible question that you're asking. And I think it's really important for us to have continued conversations, especially in our current landscape, where there are a lot of things that are coming to question, right? Where we're getting pushback on a lot of the things that we've been doing for many years as veterinarians. And so gaining that general trust is something that we always have to continue to work with our pet parents and just, again, within our communities. And so when we talk about pet food specifically, looking at Purina especially, our quality assurance measures are top of the line. And there's no way for us to be below bar and have had so many years of success without, this being at the center of everything that we do. So first thing that I want to make sure that everyone's clear on is that where we produce our products, 99% of those pet products are right here within the US. And when we think about just that production experience, it's not that we don't have global relationships, but when we're able to trace our ingredients, trace everything back to where it was grown, having it homegrown within the US is going to really aid in that. That 1%, because you're probably asking, well, what's going on with that 1%? That's going to be our more standardized like vitamin mixes. And so these are, just ways that we can make sure that we gain access outside of the country too. Another thing that I want to mention, and this is something that veterinarians are often very surprised about, especially if they come visit us in any of our manufacturing plants or even at our pilot plant in St. Louis, but we are conducting over 100,000 quality checks daily. And what I mean by that is from start to finish. As soon as that truck arrives at any of our manufacturing plants with those raw ingredients, they have to be identified, checked for our high level of quality before they can even make their way into our facilities. And what's really interesting and exciting about that is that if they don't meet standards, guess what happens to those ingredients? They leave and they go to some other plant. And what I've heard, I'm not sure if this is true, is that they go into human consumption, but don't quote me on that. We're able to trace ingredients, again, from the time that they arrive to plants and following through their entire manufacturing journey. And even beyond the fact, like looking at the packaging, and a lot of folks will ask me this question, can I store, Purina food in a different, a plastic bin? And our recommendation is no, because even the science and the quality assurance that goes into the packaging is so important to maintain the integrity and the viability of the product. We also make sure that we have toxicologists. Dr. Aria is one of my favorites who works with Purina, and she's there put in place to make sure that there are no toxins or nothing that's going to come into those foods that's going to be dangerous or not provide benefit for the patients or the pets that we're feeding. And so lots of checks and balances along the way.
And I just wanted to reemphasize that because, one of the things that people like Callie and I, who are in the media, we've done this type of stuff on a national level or international level. And a lot of times people, will criticize and say, well, Ernie, you only recommend these 3 or 4 brands, right? It seems like you're in their back pockets, whatever. The reason that people like us recommend that is because we can trust this traceability, this making sure that these ingredients are safe for use in pet foods. I mean, this is not going to happen with every pet food. And, Callie, there are some amazing formulations out there, right? And there's some great ingredient stacks in pet foods that I go, wow, that's really good. But here's where they lose me. They can't guarantee that they've gone through these rigorous testing. And, and I think that if you're a veterinary professional and we are trying to do the best for our pet patients, to me, that's where I start. Let's look at how do we assure the public, our clients, that this is a safe and quite frankly, it's actually what's on the bag is in the bag, because that's a whole nother issue that we can get into. Well, let's also maybe spin it slightly. How do you guys set, targets for what do you want to develop? Because you mentioned all this history of innovation, and I don't want you to give away any trade secrets, but what's the process from a veterinary perspective of okay, how do we evaluate if we need a new whatever?
Oh my goodness. There's so much that goes into that. And I think research and development is also a huge pillar within Purina. Now, many of you guys may not be aware, but our parent company is Nestle. And we made that merge many years ago and really have gained a lot of benefit as a result of that partnership because of all the research that Nestle has done on human formulas and human products. And particularly when we start talking about probiotic utilizations, right? There are so many studies, so many claims that have come out of the Nestle laboratories that now we've been able to utilize over at Purina. But when we look at our entire R&D department, we have over 500 scientists and pet care experts. And I'm not just talking about veterinarians. I'm talking about boarded veterinary nutritionists and PhD nutritionists. We also utilize behaviorists, which is incredible because when we think about pet food, it's not just the science and the ingredients that are going into the food. It's also that feeding experience of our patients, of our pets, and our behaviors. They play such a huge role in understanding what's going to happen at the food bowl, what's going to motivate that cat or that dog to want to continue to eat. And so really putting that expertise in a pet food company, to me, is genius. We also have immunologists, we have chemists, we have molecular biologists, we have food scientists, we have palatability experts, because something that I always say is, it doesn't matter how much science you throw into food. If the pet won't eat it, then it's not going to help anybody. We span over 5 continents, North America being, obviously the one that I'm working alongside with. And so we just are always looking, to gain insights from a global standpoint on what's next. We're never going to rest on our laurels and say, okay, we've accomplished all things when it comes to pet food. Something that I want to mention that really gives insights into our progression was really the lifespan study. And this is a study that I know that a lot of people are familiar with, but ultimately under the leadership of Purina, we looked at how we can feed our pets, particularly dogs, at a less amount of calories in order to get them at lean body weight to provide longevity to their lives. And when this study was conducted, this was a landmark, groundbreaking study. When this was conducted many, many years ago, this actually changed the landscape of all of the pet food diets out there. Everyone changed their feeding recommendations based upon the information that we were able to gain over this lifespan study that followed along Labrador retrievers from start to finish. And so I could go on and on about, how we're always looking towards the future, looking, into metabolomics, looking at more from a genomic or gene standpoint, even as we look at different vehicles and how we're feeding our pets. I know right now we're doing a great job with, dry extruded and canned food, but what's next? What are some other ways that we can really incorporate more feeding opportunities for our patients?
Yeah, and form factors, another area that you guys are innovating in, and really, I think, going to lead that space. So I'm super excited. And I'll just tell you, Callie, one of the highlights of my career, I got to give Purina. One of the ways that they also come up with the next ideas is they hold these companion animal nutrition summits around the world. And one of the highlights of my career was about 10 years ago, giving a special keynote on obesity at that time around that. And I'll tell you, if you want to get in a room of the absolute most brilliant minds in the world in animal nutrition, Purina definitely does that. So it's remarkable. Again.
Yeah.
Right. Oh, you can imagine me on the stage going, okay, I'm not worthy. Well, that also leads us to another important part of the culture and company of Purina, and that's its university engagement. And that's something I know that you're tasked with. You're around, speaking at all the different colleges, but maybe for folks that aren't as familiar, maybe there's a manager or a veterinary technician who's looking at this video. Tell us a little bit about the university, specifically the vet school engagement for Purina.
Yeah, this is a huge part of my role as a veterinary communications manager, and obviously the roles that my other VCMs that work for Purina, what we participate on a daily basis. But ultimately, when we're looking at vet schools or university engagement, we're really trying to hone in on how we're going to participate and show up for that next generation of vet med. And so our ambition is to not only elevate the role of nutrition, but it's also solidifying those relationships that we make and have and create with those key opinion leaders or thought leaders within the university space. We value our faculty, our clinicians in universities. We look at them as research partners, right? And then again, going back to our students, they are the future. They are our future. And so we want to help empower them so they show up and they feel confident when they're leading those conversations on pet nutrition. So we have a Purina Student Ambassador program. So basically what we refer to affectionately as our Purina student reps. And these are coveted roles. We get into these schools and we hire these students. We act as mentors to them, and they act in return as our boots on the ground, aiding in the liaison or that pipeline between Purina and what's going on within the universities. They help provide insights into university life. They're building that future of just natural advocacy for Purina. Many of our student reps will go on to become practice owners. Maybe they're part of Vertical Vet. Many of them become medical directors and specialists. And so we really are proud, again, of this professional network that we build from the start in vet school. And just a fun fact, many, many years ago, back in the dark ages, I was also a Purina student rep at Tuskegee University. And here I am as a veterinarian working for Purina. So it does, serve as a direct connection to even maybe a future job. And so there's so much that we do within the university space and so much that we're proud of. And we're not stopping, right? Because there are more vet schools that are popping up every year. And so our goal, our aim is just to get in there and again, just elevate that role of nutrition.
Yeah, and I love that, Callie. I was also a student rep at University of Georgia in the dark ages, long before you were there. And I will say those were invaluable experiences, and I think there's a lot of, there are folks that go into vet school that already maybe had done leadership in undergrad. I'd been SGA president, and all, I'd played that game. And it just was a great way to use those skills and really enhance them. So I'll tell you, I want to thank you again for your support of students and universities around the country, because it really makes a difference in lives. You and I are benefactors of that, and it does help us. It just gives you that little extra boost or that little confidence that allows you to take on the world, for sure. Now, there is another thing that you guys do to help support our community, and there's a whole host of grants and different financial aid opportunities. And I think that this is something that a lot of veterinarians that are watching this just aren't familiar with. So maybe if you could talk a little bit about, what you guys are doing. We're coming into the holidays. There's a lot of need. There's a lot of stuff being discussed. So maybe tell us how Purina helps those that need us the most.
Yeah. So this is something that is very near and dear to my heart. And that is our campaign with Working for Vets. So we have something called the Pro Plan Vet Support Mission that ultimately provides grants for veterinarians, like those of you guys who are listening, like myself, to use with clients that are facing financial limitations. And all of us have been in those shoes where we've seen a patient, they come in, we are immediately, just attached to trying to improve or make things better for them. Maybe now we're attached to the pet parent because we see how hard they're trying, but they're just coming up short from a financial standpoint. And so for all of you guys, as long as you are an AVMA member, this gives you access to being able to apply for up to $1,000 per calendar year through this fund to help support whatever patient or client that you deem that's in need. Now, there's going to be just some limitations to that. Most of the scenarios are going to be for those patients that are not going to be wellness visits or routine surgeries, but you guys know the types that are coming in. Maybe it was a hit by car or they got sick suddenly and we need to do a bunch of diagnostics and we need to hospitalize. And if we can just get them to this space, they have a great future ahead of them. These are the patients that I would consider as far as applying for this financial support. When a survey was conducted several years ago now when it was trying to identify some pain points for veterinarians, right? And we all have different ones, but then collectively as a profession, at the top of the list is feeling like we're unable to help those patients that we see on a daily basis. And the finances are going to also be at the top of the list. And so when we're looking at just overall wellness for veterinarians, hoping to try and reduce some of those barriers, some of the stress, some of the anxiety that we might feel every day showing up in a clinical setting. This is just one effort as a way to help support veterinarians as they're, again, just being the heroes out there.
Yeah, and it's really, again, there are so many opportunities for assistance like this. And I think that, at Vertical Vet, we're always looking for them. And quite frankly, when all this came around, Katie and I were talking, it was like, we've got to make sure we highlight this because we just didn't feel like our members were aware of it, and I only had very, very tangential exposure to this program. I didn't really understand, quite frankly, I'm going to be honest, how easy it was to apply. It's not a cumbersome, process.
No.
Now, and again, like you mentioned, there are some limitations, but if you are confronting one of those cases, we all know the cases, then this would be an avenue to maybe pursue if you want
Yes.
to. But you don't just stop at grants. You have also the Beyond the Bowl program. So this is another one. Again, this is a bigger part of the picture. I mean, that one is to help you with your individual client need.
Yeah.
But talk about Beyond the Bowl.
Yeah. So at the core of who we are at Purina, we truly do believe that pets and people are better together. Like, this is just like, end statement, right? This is the belief that human plus animals and that bond can truly just make our lives better. And so when we get outside of our exam rooms, when we get outside of our clinics, when we get outside of just our own individual patients, there is a whole community of pet lovers, the humans that really do show up to try and create these bonds with, our future patients. And so through our support of a variety of partnerships and programs, we really do try to facilitate opportunities for pets and people in need to just achieve a better life together. And so there are several initiatives. So I'll go through maybe just a few of them that I feel like are important for everybody to know, especially as we're ending our month here, the month of October. Many folks may not be aware, but October is Domestic Violence Awareness Month. And when we think about it from a vet perspective, often we are that first line of defense when there could be something going on in a household that's abuse related. 1 in 3 women, 1 in 4 men at some point in their life is going to suffer abuse, and pets are going to be impacted and affected by that as well. And so when we think, again, going back to the heart of who we are, that human animal bond, we recognize that we needed to change just the experience for these survivors of abuse when they are ready to make that escape and go into a new life. One of the major barriers for many of our survivors from leaving as quickly as they should is not being able to bring all of their family members, especially their pets, right? And so when Purina got wind of that and started working with some really important partners within the community, like Red Rover, we recognized that only 3% of domestic violence shelters offered any assistance for pets, right? And so it became our duty to get in there, to change those domestic violence shelters, to improve the scenarios to where now they're becoming pet friendly. We're also looking at ways to advocate, to fund, to provide resources. We partnered with the Urban Resource Institute, which actually led to the development and construction of Pal's Place, which is the first ever domestic violence shelter of its size in the country. And so just really recognizing that need is something that, again, brings chills to me and something that I'm super proud of. Another initiative that I want to make sure that folks are aware of is our veteran support. A lot of folks aren't clear on this, but we have something called the Dog Chow Service Dog Salute. So another need, over 3 million military veterans suffer from PTSD. And while service dogs are proven, right, this is through research, proven to reduce the severity of those PTSD symptoms and suicidal behaviors, less than 1% of those in need were actually getting service dogs. So we decided to align ourselves with, again, various organizations to get more of those service dogs trained and available for those who are critically in need to help get them conducive and ready to get back into day-to-day living. Another initiative that I want to share, especially as things are changing right in our environment, Purina continues to stay at the forefront of disaster relief. And so when disasters strike, whether that's weather disasters or anything else that's happening, we recognize it's not just the humans that need support, it's also the pets that the humans love. So again, the list continues to go on, how we really showcase and demonstrate our abilities to try and just support people who have pets and want to achieve a better life with them.
Yeah, and I've got to thank you. Obviously, I live in North Carolina, of many, many hurricanes in the 35 years that we lived here on the coast, and Purina has always stepped up. In fact, the latest with last year and the floods in the western part of North Carolina, Purina really was on the ground almost immediately offering assistance, food assistance, and even some vet care. I mean, so I got to thank you guys. And that's one of the reasons, again, we're selective in our partnerships here at Vertical Vet. And so it's not just the best products sometimes or the best prices, practices, but it's also the best people. And that's where culture and company and Purina all come together. And again, it's just a perfect package. Well, any little last bit of information you want to maybe share with the Vertical Vet family before we let you go today?
Yeah, I think that, first of all, I'm just grateful, right, to have this opportunity to really spread a little bit, just a sprinkling of the passion that I have for Purina onto the rest of you guys. And when I think back to like even my start with Purina, and I take off my Purina employee hat and I think back to like just who I am at the core as a veterinarian, right? I think that something that I hope has been translated in this experience is we are truly here as your partners. It's not just, again, about the pet food and, even the science and the innovations, which are all really important, but we are constantly asking ourselves how we can continue to show up for veterinarians, vet professionals, and of course, our pet parents. And so there's obviously, more information that I can share. As Dr. Ernie mentioned, I love to continue these conversations. So certainly, my contact information is out there. Let's interact on social media. But I definitely just want everybody to know that Purina, we're here to partner with you at every step of the way. We welcome feedback. We just want to make sure that we're able to show up as the happy, healthy veterinarians that we intended to be.
Well, happy, healthy you've made me feel today. And I want to thank you again for your partnership with Vertical Vet. Again, Vertical Vet family, we'll have all the links. If you want any information, you want to know more, you want to learn how to set up, you want to more information about the products, reach out to us at Vertical Vet, and then we can put you in touch with our partner at Purina. Dr. Callie Harris, thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Well, Vertical Vet family, it's over already. I can't believe it. What a rush to talk to Dr. Callie Harris from Purina. And again, you can see why we're excited for this partnership, because it's beyond the bag. It's bigger than the bowl. It's so much more. And so if you are interested in how your clinic can benefit from Purina therapeutic diets, maintenance diets, whatever it might be, then please reach out to us at Vertical Vet. We have got the most amazing team on the planet, if I do say so myself. And so we just want to help connect you. Again, for us, this is about partnering with other folks that have the same passion for pet care that we do. Again, our goal here at Vertical Vet is to help you as an independent practice thrive in this day and age. So again, we want to thank Purina, we want to thank Dr. Callie Harris, and we want to thank you for being a Vertical Vet member. If you're not a Vertical Vet member and you're watching this, then please reach out to us, verticalvet.com, and find out more, because we are excited to welcome you into our growing family. On behalf of everybody here at Vertical Vet, I am Chief Veterinary Officer Dr. Ernie Ward. It's been a great time. We'll talk to you next one. Bye.